This is Nadisha in Chicago, and you are watching my channel, Knowledge for Quality of Life. Friends, last time when I did the vlog, I started with a few options which I adapted over the years. And I've been telling this thing from day one that, I did many iterations, many trial and error to reach to this conclusion, what I'm doing today. And the reason are various reasons. First, I was doing some trial and error. And then once I figured it out that, what genotype I carry, because, it didn't dawn on me all of a sudden that, how things pan out based on your genotype. So by reading, by doing extensive digging, research, this genotype came across, and that was a big game changer for me and for, I bet you that, almost everyone, because once you know your genotype, you can mitigate a lot of issues that when, what will jive with you, what will suit you, what will, you should be eating, what you should be avoiding. And one of my friend asked me in the comment section that, they would like to hear what my wife eats. Of course, last week when I did that diet vlog, what I consume, it was just a beginning. So I'm going to be covering a lot of things over time. Of course, with the length of the vlog, I don't want to go overboard. So before I start today's talk, I wanted to have this stage set that, what are the main factors due to which I started this journey, and I have some bullet points written so that I cover one by one. So people experience 70%, over 70% of the people experience heart attack or heart-related issues when they have a normal cholesterol. Right? So normal cholesterol, today's benchmark is total cholesterol is 200. So let's that thing sink in our head, right? So if the normal cholesterol, according to the medical community, is below 200, then why the question which I was asking, that why people are experiencing a lot of heart disease or heart issues. Then on the same research, it popped up to me that people with insulin resistance experience 70% of the heart attacks. So, and Kraft, Dr. Robert Kraft, he was the pioneer in insulin assay, and he illustrated quite a bit with his experimentation that, insulin resistance is one of the biggest culprit of all the diseases. Basically, I would call it's a mother of all diseases. So if I were to pick one battle to fix majority of the health problems to begin with, I would go after insulin resistance. That's number one. The third factor is that high inflammation marker, which is measured of, what type of food we consume, what type of processed food we consume, what type of refined flours we consume, what type of sugar we consume, how many times we eat these carb-driven diets and sugar-loaded diets. So that is HSCRP. I haven't talked about it, that test yet, which I will do it. But these are the markers which I had in my forefront when I was looking after my health, that, what I need to go after. Basically, this is, if you know the problem, then you can go after that. So you have to identify, and, there is no such thing when it comes to preventative healthcare, that one silver bullet, that, there is no magic pill here. Each of us are different. Each one of us are unique, created by nature. And we have to know what we are, what is our genotype, what type of blood we carry. The latest science is telling us all these things. And unfortunately, when we go to the doctor, doctors don't look at those things because they don't have time. They don't have that much training to begin with in their med schools. They've not been trained. They've been trained to treat the symptoms, treat the disease. And we are talking about before the disease even appears on the surface, right? So this is all proactive measures I'm talking about. The fourth number, so first was, heart attack with the cholesterol level. Second was insulin resistance. The third was inflammation marker, high sensitive CRP, HSCRP, which is C-reactive protein, high sensitive C-reactive protein. And the fourth one was metabolic syndrome. I did a separate vlog on metabolic syndrome. So these are the four leading horses were in front of me that, I need to figure it out that, where I'm lacking, what are the issues? And then I can address one by one. So I found out that, metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance, if I go after these two numbers and figure it out that, how I can mitigate those, a lot of other issues will take care of itself. Okay. So I've started with that. And I discussed briefly that what type of diet I use. So when I'm talking about breakfast, when I mentioned that I eat 2 meals a day, I didn't mean to advocate anybody by any means that they should eat 2 meals a day, or they should eat 1 meal a day, or they should eat 3 meals a day. No, by no means I'm advocating anything. This is my own journey, and I'm sharing my journey with you, basically, how I mitigated my concerns, my issues, and what came along, with the digging process, through the research and what I found out, and how I fixed it. So the type of bread which I eat, my wife cannot eat that. Okay, let's be straight on that. Now, so I told you that I carry ApoE genotype 3.3, right? She has a ApoE genotype 3.4. So it means that, the type of bread which I consume is coconut flour, which is 92% saturated fat. It has the most lauric acid after mother's milk. So people who carry allele 4, 1 copy of 4, she has 1 copy of 4, not double copy of 4. So you can have 1 copy of 4 as 3.4 or double copy of 4 as 4.4. So you have carried 1 copy from your mom and 1 copy from your dad. So I'm 3.3, so I'm okay in saturated fat. I can consume, I can metabolize decently, no problem. But people who carry 1 allele of 4 or double allele of 4, they metabolize saturated fat, they metabolize dietary cholesterol pretty fast. And there is a tendency, the paper says, research says that, they tend to increase their lipid profile, cholesterol level. Now, for people who carry 1 copy of 4 or double copy of 4, they have an Alzheimer's or dementia risk in the later part of their life. When they go, in late 70s or 60s or 80s, there is a chance. So they say if you carry 1 copy of 4, you have 30% chance. And if you carry double copy of 4, there is a chance goes through the roof like 90%. This is not me. This is, from 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, who is the leading authority on Alzheimer's disease, Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏. So he has all these protocols that, he suggested. I'm just giving you a glimpse of it, that he says that if you carry 1 copy of 4 or double copy of 4, stay away from saturated fat. So I don't give my wife, she doesn't eat my bread. So what do? So we make different bread for her. That's a millet and oat bread. And she consumes that, right? So we have totally different breads for me and different bread for her, okay? A lot of things are common in our diet. For instance, eggs, we eat soft-boiled eggs, both 2 eggs in our breakfast. No problem with cholesterol because, it is life, completely full life, because chick comes out of the whole egg. A lot of good nutrients in that, particularly egg yolk, lutein, xanthine, good for your macular degeneration, your eyesight, So it is loaded with all the nutrients, right? So I'm not worried about at all, based on what I have gone through the literature, that, a lot of people say that, oh, throw away the yolk, just eat the whites. I don't believe that, right? And in fact, I have seen in my case that, when I am consuming 2 eggs and liver, which is dietary cholesterol, my LDL went from 130 to under 96. It's below now. So it's close to 30%, over 30% it dropped. Because my liver is compensating that, if I'm eating a little bit cholesterol or in dietary cholesterol, my liver figures that out and spits out less. Because, even though if I go hungry, just live off the water, my liver is smart enough by nature, the way it's designed, that it's going to produce 75 to 80% of the cholesterol, which my body needs to properly function. Okay. So it's not the total cholesterol. I've been saying this all over and over. It's the quality of the cholesterol we have to be after, right? So remember that what I said, that, my total cholesterol was 166, for years. It was hovering between 160 and 170. So I'm perfectly normal. But my small LDL particles, which are very atherogenic, which participates in the plaque formation or oxidation, it gets pretty fast oxidized because it has a small surface area. So I needed to reduce that number. Right? So the small LDL particles, I needed to reduce that. And I was successful after a few years of trial and error. What I did, because this bread, coconut flour, which is a saturated fat, it increases. Now, this is the pointer I came across, that if saturated fat increases your particle size distribution, right? So particle size distribution means from small to it's going to make a little bit bigger particles over time, right? So this is one factor. This is not the only factor. By no means I'm saying that, you guys go ahead and load it up on saturated fat. This is the one factor. There are a slew of factors played a role collectively in achieving a result, okay? So I'm going to be illustrating here each factor that what I have observed over time. So saturated fat was a big factor for me, and I didn't load it up on saturated fat. Decent amount, moderation. Okay, so bread, it has a coconut flour. It has a saturated fat. Because I started my bread making with whole wheat. Then I moved to buckwheat. Then I moved to spelt flour. Then I moved to barley flour. Then I moved to almond flour, and people think that, almond flour is good. A lot of people uses it. I thought that it's good, but, it increases your omega-6 and omega-9. So, I switched from almond to coconut flour. Now I'm fine with coconut flour. So this is one factor. It played a role in lowering my small LDLP. Then we have a lot of, I have a lot of mixed berries, which I shared with you last time. It is low glycemic load food. Because why it's low glycemic load food is good for me? Because I was going after insulin resistance, right? I wanted to bring my insulin resistance score as low as possible so that I become insulin sensitive. So this is my goal. This was my goal, and still it's my goal. So the only fruits I consume are berries. And if cherries are in season, then I will include a couple of cherries as well. Because these are all low glycemic load, which includes the index, glycemic index, and the carbohydrates into the equation, right? Because, this is the new term by Harvard a few years back, that, one should be looking for glycemic load rather than glycemic index only. And it has full of antioxidants, all the berries, right? Particularly blueberries are very good for your cornea, for your eyesight. And there is one berry which is available, which we use as well in making the homemade jelly. It's a wild blueberries. We get frozen in Trader Joe's from Canada, and they are awesome. They're great. And then avocado I shared with you, that I consume avocado. So I consume avocado. My wife used to eat banana in the morning with her breakfast. She moved to avocado as well, right? So now, because it has low carb, almost none, and it has a good good monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fat. It has a good fats. So it doesn't have any saturated fat, by the way. And through the literature, I found out that avocado helps you in increasing your HDL by about 10 to 11%, right? So that is one factor also that I was looking for. And that's how I found out and incorporated avocado in my diet over the years. Now, I don't eat guacamole or avocado dip with the chips, because then I'm going to kill the purpose, because chips are loaded with carb and avocado is a fat. A lot of people, I'm going to say this thing here. A lot of people I've heard from my friends, colleagues, that, oh, I eat good fats, but they eat avocado, no doubt about it. It's a good fat. I agree with them, but they eat carbs as well. So what is this? What's the problem here? So when we eat carb, it gets stored into the glucose form, glucose as energy, right? And then we eat fat, it gets stored into the fat globules as energy. When we are working, the first source of energy which is going to be consumed, if the glucose stores are available, it's going to deplete glucose first. And the fat is going to remain untapped, right? So they are not going to lose weight, they are going to gain weight, because if you consume carb and if you consume fat, good fats, both together, you are not going to lose weight. But if you deprive from carb and you eat fat, you're going to lose weight over time. Now, I didn't have much to lose. People who know me, I was always skinny, but still I lost 2 inches of my visceral fat. And I used to wear 32 waist pant. Now I'm 30, right? So my BMI got much efficient more, right? I feel great. I never intended to lose weight. I just lost 12 pounds only because I had nothing to lose too much, and my BMI is around 21 now. So point I'm trying to make that, what we are doing, we have to be a little bit thinking about it, that what are we doing? Because, there's an intellect which plays a role here, that, every action, there's a consequence with it. So whatever you want to do, take a step back and think about it, the rationalism, the rationality that, and it's okay to take time, because there's no race here. It's a part of the learning, and there's no race here. And over time you're going to get corrected, because body is so dynamic. And the beauty of the body is that it's not like a motor engine, right? So if you have a gasoline-driven car and if you put a diesel in it one day just for the heck of it, right? It's not going to work. It's going to knock. It's going to just seize out, and you will have a tremendous amount of expenses to fix that engine. But nature has designed this body in such a way that it's able to take few shocks along the way. And body gives you an indication that, hey, wait a minute, I'm having this hard time in adjusting to this. Whatever it is, either weight gain or some symptoms, some headache, some backache, something, body is going to reveal certain signs. Now, if I'm smart enough to pay attention to those signs and try to figure it out with the help of my health partner, doctor, I'm lucky. But sometimes we overlook those signs. We don't pay attention what our body is telling us, right? If I'm putting more weight, not necessarily it's because of I'm eating. It could be something else, right? Like my thyroid is screwed up, right? So many things are there, but we need to take a step back and try to analyze it with the help of our doctors, that, what it is that it's causing it. So basically, alluding to the root cause rather than symptoms. So the symptoms can be treated or alleviated for the time being, or shove it with this pill or medication, but it will not go away, right? It will lead another issue with the side effects of that drug which I'm taking. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be taking drug. You know, there's a case where it's imminent to take it, you know, for certain ailments or certain conditions. But what is in our hand, to the best of our ability, to mitigate that issue down the line, we should do it. That's at least my take. This is where I'm coming from. So the next one, I said that, you know, I take handful of nuts. Now, handful is how much about? Research says that 30 grams of fats in nuts is good for you a day, right? So basically, I follow Mediterranean diet. My diet, if I were to classify it, it's a Mediterranean diet, but the carb factor is out, you know. So Mediterranean diet has a lot of pasta, a lot of bread, a lot of spaghetti. You know, I'm staying away from that because, you know, I have an underlying problem of small LDLP. Remember that? So if I start eating that, then I'm not going to achieve the numbers which I'm looking for, the small LDLP, right? I used to have like 666 at one point. Now, recently, I got this year's test at 182. So I lowered it over 70%, you know, without any drug. And by the way, there is no drug that can lower your small LDLP. It can lower your it can lower your LDLC, which is low density lipoprotein cholesterol, but it's not going to change that much your particle size. Okay, so the nuts which I include is a few peanuts. I can eat peanuts. I am O positive blood type. My wife is B positive blood type. She cannot have peanuts. So she doesn't have in her nuts as a snack. She doesn't eat peanuts. Okay, so be mindful of those things. You know, there are certain things which we can do better. It's not going to give you some kind of a reaction or anything, but, you know, some people are allergic to nuts, you know, so make sure that, you know, no one is allergic to nuts before consuming nuts or before going nuts. So my wife cannot have peanuts. We include about 8 to 10 seeds of pistachio. Now, pistachio has a lot of benefits, a lot of numerous antioxidants, nutrients, and all that. But one thing about pistachio for me, that it has a saturated fat as well, little amount of. So it helps in reducing the small LDLP. That's another factor, right? So count the factors which I'm mentioning to you that help me in bringing my LDLP, small LDLP, from 666 to 182. So all these factors count. Now, let me be honest with you. Lifestyle adaptation is not easy. It's a discipline. And do I have 100% discipline? No. If somebody says that I'm 100% disciplined, that's not possible. That's not realistic. Once a while, I told you before that I go for eating out with my family, friends, or anywhere I'm invited, but I pick my battle accordingly. You know, I pick my foods accordingly. I have to pick lesser of the two evils, basically, if I were to judge between the two. So be mindful of that. That's all. That's all. You know, it's not like a you know, something written on stone that, you know, if I don't have this thing, it's not going to work. You know, make the most out of whatever you have available. So lifestyle is just like as I said, that it's a discipline, right? A person who goes to gym hour and a half, you know, if he doesn't go to gym on a daily basis, if he doesn't or she doesn't follow that discipline, of course, the person is not going to see the results at the end of the day, at the end of the certain time frame, right? So anything which you need, you have to have a discipline to go to work, to get a paycheck, right? if you don't go to work, you are not going to entitled for the paycheck. So anything needs discipline, right? Now, body is very, very dynamic. Nature is so blessed that, it has given us this human body that it can take some shocks. Once a while, it can take some shocks, some jolt you can give. Like some people said that, oh, 6 day I'm going to be watching my diet, and then, one day I'm going to have a cheat day. That doesn't jive with me, because, I don't define cheat day, because if I'm home, why should I cheat? Yeah, if I'm away from home and I cannot get what I normally eat, then I have to pick my battle accordingly. But I don't have any cheat days type of thing in my definition or in my dictionary. So it's individual thing. I'm not saying that no one should have it, but to me, cheat day is like 6 days I was disciplined, and one cheat day is going to ruin, because I'm designing that cheat day in my books, right? So I'm against that design of the cheat day, rather than if I'm away and I cannot have something and I have to pick my battle accordingly, then it's a different story, right? Because it's a matter of survival then. So few walnuts, 3 or 4 halves of walnut, and then I include about 4 apricot kernels. I don't go over 4. It's daily. Me and my wife, we take apricot kernels 4 a day. That's a maximum. You should not consume more than 4. Maybe people can start with, if you want to. I started with 1. How I feel, because it has some chemicals. It is bitter because it has some chemicals that it lowers your blood pressure sometimes, and you may not jive good with it. So be mindful of that. And you don't have to include that. This is not a common nut which people include. Then another nut I include is Brazilian nut. Now, Brazilian nut has, one medium-sized Brazilian nut has about 90 to 95% microgram of selenium. Selenium is a trace mineral which, in conjunction with iodine, metabolizes our thyroid. These two chemicals, these two nutrients, are very, very important for the health of our thyroid, and particularly for male, for your prostate health. Selenium is very good. Now, people can have selenium supplements, but I don't go after supplements. If it's available in food, that's my first choice. So I include 1 Brazilian nut, just 1, all right? Medium size to large size, that's good enough for me. And I am up to optimum in selenium, because I get tested selenium, I'm fine. My wife is fine. So selenium is very good. That's why we include Brazilian nut. And then I eat 1 fig, dry fig, and 1 dry apricot, as a dry fruit. Just 1. It's a discipline, because it has some sugar as well. So I just take 1 fig a day and 1 apricot a day. For dinner, I mentioned that, I consume chicken, shrimp, beef, fish, and I want to share some things here with the eating habits. My objective is to eat as close to nature as possible. So I eat only the way nature has produced, and just as close to the nature. I avoid all the processed food out there. Now, does it mean that I never eat processed food? If I'm out and I have to eat something, of course, I'm not going to get fresh and ground up cooking, right? So that's a totally different story. My wife makes spices, ground spices, from the whole spice, and fills up the bottles. And we have all the spices. We make our own spices as the time is available. and be used in our daily cooking. Now, when we talk about chicken, chicken can be regularly available. Chicken can be pasteurized. So now we have to see that, I look for pasteurized chicken. Pasteurized chicken means, they are allowed to roam around, and the way they eat all the insects and whatever the nature has trained them to eat. There's no man-made feed given to the chicken, such as, any GMOs and or any, hormone-related stuff to make them grow bigger in the meat and all that, right? So I remember that, when we were little, my mom taught me, all the brothers and sisters, that eat less but eat nutrient-rich diet, right? Because, as I said in my previous vlogs, that, we don't eat to fill our tummy, we eat for energy. Nutrient-dense food is the raw material for our engine of our body. So that's what we go after as a best practice in our home. So I buy pasteurized organic chicken, and then shrimp. I don't look for farm raised. I buy a wild caught, because farm raised they are feeding all kind of a junk, and they grow bigger and bigger. Of course, they are jumbo shrimp, looks good, but I don't know what they've been fed, right? So, and whatever they've been fed, if I'm eating that, I'm ending up with those chemicals, or those hormones, or those GMOs, or those corn, or those soya, whatever it may be. Same thing goes with beef, right? If the animals are fed with the corn, because think about it this way. Whatever the animals we consume, if we are non-veg, right? What the nature provided them, or what the nature has wired them to eat, they should eat accordingly, right? The only thing is that, we as a human, we stay away from that natural wiring. We eat all sorts of things, whatever it comes to us, particularly if it's very tasty, whether it's loaded with sugar or it's loaded with some frying stuff, or we don't think twice, generally I'm saying. But the consequences, which we find out later, way later, because, remember that, these non-communicable diseases are insidious in nature. They harbor in us without us knowing that they are inside us. But by the time they come to the surface, it's too late sometimes, right? So that's my own advocacy, that, we don't want to reach to that level to the best of our ability. If the nature has given some test to me, so be it. I will accept it as my luck, or it's my fate, right? But I will know that, whatever I have had in my power, I did to the best of my ability to mitigate those risks. That's all I'm saying. Then again, fish, right? So fish, I get wild caught fish for omega-3. Omega-3 is very, very crucial for our overall well-being. It's good for heart. It's good for brain, because brain is loaded with fat. Brain is nothing but it's a fatty blob of fat. So omega-3, generally they say that, standard American diet, or standard here in America, people have about omega-3 percentage in their blood, about 2 to 3% average. Japanese, on the contrary, their omega-3 index is around 12%, right? So the range they are talking about that you should have omega-3 in your blood is 8 to 12%. So it minimum is 8, and around 12% is the threshold, right? So then you have another omega-6 and 9, right? All these seed oils which we consume in cooking, particularly in Asian community, it's very bad. sunflower oil, plant-based oil, corn oil. These are all loaded with omega-6 and 9. And the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 cannot be more than 3. Ideally, it should be 1 to 1, but we need some omega-6 and 9, but normally people have like 40, 35, and the omega-3s are in the range of 2 or 3 because we don't eat fish. Or even though we eat fish, we don't eat the right type of fish, right? Catfish or kingfish or other type of fish which is not loaded with omega-3. So for instance, omega-3 rich fishes are wild-caught salmon like sockeye. There are 5 types of salmon. Get the wild-caught salmon, sockeye, and mackerel, then sardines. All those are loaded with omega-3s. Now, sometimes, we question that, fresh fish or frozen one. I was in Alaska in 2017, and I saw the plant that how they pre-pack the, salmon. Then they make the fillets, how they freeze it, how they seal it. And basically, to me, I realized that, frozen thing is better than the fresh. I'll give you the reason why. Because if somebody catches the fish, right, from the water, because salmon is a cold water fish. So if they catch the fish, by the time it comes on my dinner table, it's going to be minimum 5 to 7 days, right? So there's a lapse of 5 to 7 days, whether it's through the transportation and through the journey, it's coming to my dinner table, it's going to be 5 to 7 days. It may lose some nutrients. It may not give me that kind of a freshness. Flash frozen fish, they freeze it airtight at the site. The way they catch it, they make the fillet and they flash freeze it. So all the nutrients and everything remains intact, okay? Once we get it in our groceries, we can bring it, we thaw it, we marinate it, whatever we want to do it, and cook it, and bingo, you eat it. So to me, frozen items, wild-caught frozen items are much better than the fresh. So I always look for the frozen one and quality one. So wild-caught salmon like sockeye, I get about $12.99 a pound at Trader Joe. Sometimes they are on sale, but most of the time they are not. So 6 ounces of fillet is 1 serving. They say that you have to have at least 2 servings a week, and that will give you some boost in your omega-3 index. And we have tested on a regular basis that what after consuming this thing, what the levels are. So besides the supplement which I take, omega-3, I use krill oil. I'll share with you this concept of krill versus fish. A lot of people use fish oil. I use krill oil for years. Krill is a small creature like prawns and like a shrimp, but it's not shrimp. Blue whale eats it. They are abundantly available in Arctic Ocean. So they are very much bioavailable, and it increases your HDL about 30 to 40%, provided you do other things, lower your carb, lower your sugar. So it's like you don't have to do the washout. If you eat load with carb and sugar and you eat krill oil and all these things I'm sharing with you, and say, well, Nadir said that, it increases, but it didn't do anything to me. But based on papers, I'm telling you what to add and what to avoid. That's what I did. And how I improved my HDL by 122%. And that's which I did one of the vlog, and I explained you, but I'm giving you all the rationality behind it that how I increased it in these series of diet vlogs. Okay, so try to increase your omega-3. It's gonna do you good, heart-wise, brain-wise, overall health-wise. So beef is, I mentioned that beef has to be grass-fed, right? Because cows are supposed to eat grass. That's how the nature has wired them. They are not supposed to eat soybeans. They are not supposed to eat corn, because if they tie them in the barns and they feed these seeds, of course, the milk they are going to give, it's going to be loaded with omega-6 and 9 because they've been fed soybeans and corn and all that, right? It's not going to be grass-fed because they need to roam around in the pastures and eat grass. And that's how they're going to give the milk. That milk is going to be grass-fed milk, all right? So it's so, this world is so, in a way, corrupted that if I want to eat close to nature, I have to pay the premium, right? Because if you buy a gallon of grass-fed milk, it's about close to $10 to $11 a gallon, right? But if you buy a regular conventional milk, it's probably 1/3 cheaper, right? But that shouldn't be the case, because the time has put so much tax on it that everything has industrialized, make it faster, produce it more and more, commercialize more and more so we can make more money, right? So this is all about bottom line, period, at the cost of consumers' health, nothing else. Okay, so point is that, you know, the beef has to be grass-fed. If we are eating beef, it has to be grass-fed beef, right? And then you can pick within that category that 85% lean or 93% lean. You know, the leaner you go means less fat content, the little bit more premium is going to be on the per pound basis. But I just wanted to illustrate to you here that if you are eating what you are eating now and you get tested these tests, which I have shared with you, and you go on a trial basis and correct one thing at a time and try to figure it out that, you know, what it would be, and then rectify those things which I'm sharing you here. Your inflammation marker, your you know, insulin resistance factor, a lot of things are going to be taken care of over time. It's not overnight, okay? It's not like switch on and off type of thing. Anything needs time to reverse or fix it, right? So other point I'm trying to say here is type of oil, which I mentioned last time, that, you know, we use avocado oil when I'm using high heated baking or high heated you know, sauteing, particularly when I use my oven above 400 degrees Fahrenheit, because avocado oil has a 500 degree smoke point. You know, beyond 500 degrees, it starts to break down. For general purpose cooking, you know, in salads, in sauteing, in you know, stir fry, I use extra virgin olive oil, no problem, because the type of olive oil which I buy, it has close to 380 degree smoke point, and we don't reach in general cooking that temperature range ever. So, and then I make my own ghee, you know, from grass-fed butter, which is imported from here. Stores are carrying it from Ireland. You know, it's called grass-fed butter, and I make my own. You know, I boil it, and there's a process. It takes about half an hour to turn into clarified butter, which is desi ghee. And it's really good. I just had it this morning because, you know, today was Sunday, so I thought that, you know, let's have some change, and, you know, I ate with the ghee with my bread. Then one other thing I want to mention, the type of salt we use in our cooking in home. Normally people eat white salt, or they use Himalayan salt as well. Remember that Himalayan salt, pink salt, is very good. It has about 82 to 84 different types of nutrients and vitamins and all that, trace minerals, but it is very low in iodine. So iodine is not abundantly available in pink salt. So make sure that your iodine level is good, because if your iodine is not good and your selenium is not good, your TSH is going to get compromised. And some, particularly in female, I've seen that it has happened to us too. When my wife thyroid TSH level, thyroid stimulating hormone, was a little bit above 4, which I didn't like it. So I spoke to the doctor, and doctor said that still it's in the range. But according to my reading, she was in subclinical hypothyroidism, because she was inching towards that. Now, once somebody becomes the hypothyroid case, they are going to prescribe Synthroid, right? And that's going to control your thyroid, basically. So what I did, that, at that time we were using iodized salt in our house. So she was okay in iodine, but she didn't have enough selenium, because at that time we were not using Brazilian nut. So I incorporated one Brazilian nut, daily, and her thyroid TSH started coming down without any other intervention, just by food, right? Remember, 5,000 years ago, Hippocrates said that let food be the medicine, right? Let food be the medicine, otherwise one day we will eat medicine as our food, right? So he said, basically, eat your food as medicine, otherwise we have to eat medicine as our food. And this is what we see around us, right? As we age, right, which we are going to age anyways, this is the fact of life. But we need to age gracefully, so that we limit ourselves in the supplements, in the drugs, and in the prescriptions and all that. But as we age, our number of prescriptions starts piling up, right? Monday through Sunday, boxes are getting filled. So this thing is all built up, over time. It's not overnight. So remember that, your salt has to be iodized salt. So you can combine both. Make sure that you couple of times you eat iodized salt in your cooking, and you can use in other times pink salt, so you get all the trace minerals from that side, and you get enough iodine from your iodized salt. Then iodized salt is also a couple of types of available. The one which I use is sea salt, iodized sea salt. It's if I recall, the company's name is 𝗀𝗃. I get it from Whole Foods. So read the label, that how it's made, what it is basically. And pink salt doesn't have that much sodium in it, right? So it's good from that perspective, because you have to limit your sodium. You have to take the sodium. You cannot deprive. I hear a lot of people that, oh, I cut off my salt because I have a blood pressure. Salt doesn't create, I don't think so, salt ever creates blood pressure. Yeah, it aggravates it once you have it. It's going to, create much more problem once you have it, but it doesn't induce somebody hypertension, salt. But it's like, if somebody has a hypertension, it's going to create worse scenario, right? Once you add more salt. So, but if you deprive your body from salt, salt is an electrolyte. You're going to feel lethargic. Your body needs, your heart needs salt. Your sodium level is very, very needed, very much needed. So these are the few thoughts I had. And I hope I'm not missing anything, but if I do, yes, one last point I want to say. Frequency of the eating. Frequency of the eating is very crucial, okay? When I said I eat twice a day, what am I doing actually? Forget about diet business for the time being. Think of each organ in our body as a gift from nature. And it is, right? Each and every organ in our body is a gift from nature, and we should do everything possible to preserve it. So whenever I put something in my mouth, I get digested, my pancreas releases the insulin to rescue the blood glucose from my blood, right? So insulin comes and rescues the blood glucose and sends to the cellular level, because the blood glucose shouldn't be floating around in the blood. It should go and store into the cell so that I can burn that energy when I work from that cell level. But guess what? Each time I'm going to keep putting something in my mouth, right? Some people eat 3 times, some people keep chugging throughout the day, right? Couple of times snacks. Every time I'm eating something, my pancreas is getting in action. One time, the pancreas is not going to keep up with this, because I have overworked my pancreas. I have overloaded my pancreas, and my pancreas is ejecting insulin again and again whenever I'm eating something. So my pancreas is going to say that, I cannot keep up with this guy, right? I gave up. And that's a problematic sign, okay? That can create, down the line, hyperinsulinemia. If there is too much insulin in our blood without any reason, that's not good either. That's a type of diabetes. That's a type of insulin resistance as well. So frequency of the eating, one advantage is you are going to become more insulin resistant. The lesser the frequency is, better it is, right? So like some experts say that, 12-3. Yeah, 12-3 is like 12 hours apart eating, nothing in between 12 hours, right? And 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. If I'm eating something and I'm going to bed, that's a very bad practice. So if you eat your dinner, by the time you eat your dinner and your bedtime, it has to be minimum 3 hours gap, okay? And that's what I religiously try to follow. So this is what I wanted to share with you, that, let your pancreas work efficiently. Think twice before you put something in your mouth. And it's not as I said, it's a habit you need to build. It's a practice. And that's okay. It takes a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. That's fine. There's no rush. There's no race here. But you have to build that habit. Once the system builds up, in your system, you are going to feel much better. You're going to feel great. And it's going to be part and parcel of your well-being, right? So it becomes your life. That's why we call lifestyle. It's not an alternative diet. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindful eating. That's all it is. That's what I define, at least. And if we eat less frequently, that's another advantage is that if we eat less frequently, guess what? I mentioned earlier that fat which we are eating, the good fats, it's getting stored in our fat globules. Those fats are going to release as energy because, I haven't consumed any glucose, any carb. So now I have to work and I have to burn energy. Those fat reserves are going to suck the fat and burn energy. And then what's going to happen? I'm going to lose some fat, my weight. I'm going to get metabolically sensitive, so I'm going to get much more insulin. Each pound we shed, each pound we lose, we are getting insulin sensitive. Remember that, right? Our triglyceride goes down, our HDL goes up. That's how they work inversely. One triglyceride goes down, HDL goes up, but it takes time. Triglyceride is going to be within 3 days, it's as active as your lipid system is as active as, but it takes some time to see the rise in the HDL. Once you plateau your weight losing mechanism, then give it at least a year and a half, and then you will see your HDL go up. slowly. Okay, so these are the few thoughts I had, and I thought that I share with you. If you have further more comments, this thing is we are in the long journey here. I'm not cutting short by any means, but for today, I think I'm done. And if you have any more questions or concerns, which I'm not addressing today, put in the comment box, and I'll try to incorporate in the next vlogs. See you then.